Clone Drone in the Hyperdome is a VR sequel to Clone Drone in Danger Zone. Basically, you and your opponents are all robots, and all of your weapons are laser-cutting lightsabers. Because you're robots, you can cut off an enemy limb and they'll keep fighting. But the same rules apply to you, with enemies being able to cut off your limbs, but you can keep fighting so long as you still have a good arm. The controls are very fluent and to the point. You don't have that overly weighty, quote-unquote realistic physics. This game is very lighthearted and the gameplay itself reflects that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the game isn't difficult, because I'd say it's more tough but fair. You one-shot your enemies, but your enemies can one-shot you. Because of this, I found it to be really important to farm for clones, aka extra lives. Because that's right, this is a roguelike, meaning that if you die, you restart at the beginning of your run and you don't keep any power-ups. Typically, this type of a video game is not my favorite genre, but with Hyperdome, it works wonderfully. Because the entire game isn't necessarily about progression, it's about just going into a run and having fun. Seeing how long you can last, how many bosses you can defeat. There is an overarching main goal where you try to defeat the final boss by defeating all of his minions, but each boss that you defeat will show up in your next subsequent run. The cool thing is that as you end up defeating these bosses again in your next run, you'll be able to use their power-ups. While you can only have one power-up per your left and right arm, the boss abilities stack and will actually have combined effects depending on which abilities you combine. Now, I was able to beat the main campaign in about 3 hours, and I was a bit disappointed that it didn't seem like I unlocked anything. Kind of feel it would have been a good opportunity to unlock a sandbox mode or some new weapons or something. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in any way disappointed with this game or going to stop playing. See, a lot of VR games are what I like to call one and dones. They're linear adventures where you go through them and then once you're finished, you never replay them again. Hyperdome is different because it's a roguelike. You can just hop on, do a quick run, and hop off. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Blade and Sorcery, but it's a lot simpler. My only real complaints right now is that respawning takes a little bit too long. There's also a lot of little short loading screens between each section. It's not bad, it's just that time does slowly add up. I also wish that there was a way you could close the game and continue where you left off. Runs don't take very long, mind you, but you gotta kind of be strapped in for the long haul, because if you end up quitting the game at any point, your run is basically over, which does mean that if the game crashes for any reason, then your run is also over. As for whether or not I would recommend the game, yes, 100%. This is one of those few VR games that I think is stupendous. It knows exactly what it wants to be, and it goes for it. I just hope that the game is popular enough that we see continued updates from the developers. Like, I would love to see some new weapons added to the game, but it's by no means required for my recommendation.